it.
Okay, hello everyone. So, we are very excited to get together today because we want to share some little nuggets of gold with you guys about our upcoming workshop that we're running in Glastonbury. It's called the Grail Gates of Gaia, and we are super excited about what we are presenting to you guys this year. So, I thought I'd start off by getting Karen, who came up with the name for us, to explain like where this all comes from. So, Karen, over to you.
Thanks. I don't know if I came up with the name in the Grail Gates of Gaia. It's one of those that dropped in. It's one of those that I was just quite comfortably walking Lagatha and it dropped in. And I was like, oh, I think this is what Glastonbury needs to be. Um, and what I was shown was these gateways that are to, the grail of the earth almost. And what is the grail? It is potential, it is possibility, it is fullness. And the more I look at it, the more I realize that it is, in a sense, it feels a little bit like this year's Project Earthwork workshop. By going into and working with the Grail Gates of Gaia, what we're doing is working more deeply with Gaia than we ever have before, and recognizing the full, I'm going to use that word I used the other day with you, Charlie, the full prismatic nature of Gaia in a way that I don't think we ever have before. And then looking at how we support her and support the whole world with that, but also support ourselves and dive deeper with ourselves with that as well.
Okay. And I love that. And I just want to say it's just like because we really, when we started focusing on what we're going to talk about, we realized that each of us were working in a different realm. And for us, every year, and we keep banging on about this, about like how we work differently, how we are all individuals, how we don't sing off the same hymn sheet all the time. And this year is really reflective of what we are as individuals working with and what we have really focused on in our own journeys. And we are kind of seeing how all of that meshes in, and it actually creates a beautiful triangle and like an archway basically into Gaia again. And that's what we are all teaching. So we literally got, Karen in the lower realms, myself in the middle realms, and Charlie in the upper realms. And we are weaving all of that together to give you guys a piece of that information to see what really works for you and how you want to work with Gaia as well. So that feels really important. So Charlie.
What do you want me to say?
Tell us all about the liminal space, baby.
So I think the liminal space is quite a difficult one to teach in such a small amount of time. And we know that we tend to, when we get together, drift off and back and work with the energy that's in the room and with the land and the people that are with us. So for me, I'm going to be exploring the keys that you have within your body, within your auric field, within your energy, that you can use to access those higher realms. Because it's all very well, I could just give you keys, but those keys are mine, and maybe they're not going to fit into the locks that you have. So we're going to be exploring what the liminal actually is. We'll talk about the realms that I specifically work with, and maybe there are other gateways that you might want to work with. And then we're going to be exploring the avenues that you already have in front of you that maybe you haven't realized, or maybe you think they're not really important. But we're also going to get a bit vulnerable. And that felt uncomfortable for me when I sort of pitched it to the group. I was like, it feels like I need to go this way. And we came to the conclusion that it's time to kind of go hard or go home. And if we're going to have a conversation with the land, then, and if we expect the land to get vulnerable with us, and I'm not talking about surface wisdom that you only get from a sacred site, I'm talking about a neutral relationship. All deep magic is relational. So for us to do that, we're going to need to get vulnerable with the land as well. So we're going to explore a little bit about who we are. We're going to trade off some stories. And for me, my favorite part, as much as I love to teach, is the Sunday. It's going out onto the land and looking at how you work, because there's no right or wrong. I always come back from working with people on the land and have another little tool or another way of explaining something through seeing somebody else do it a slightly different way. So we'll be able to share those ideas, give you some tools. We'll be able to give you some time to go off and do some things. We're going to have some rights. So for me, Sunday is my favorite time to play, because that's why we're all gathering. That's what we're gathering for. And the teaching part of it is just to give you some tools and some ideas and some connections that you can choose to drop and go, okay, that's not for me, or you can choose to carry forward. And as much as the liminal realms might feel a bit daunting, it's also really fun and really light and really creative. But to get to that place, we need to know ourselves and be rooted and things like that, which takes us on to why we have Karen here, to explore the inner realms.
Before we go any further though, for anybody who's listening or watching and is going, but what are the liminal realms? What would you tell them? And I know that's like saying, how do you hold water in your hand? Because the liminal, like, what will people know the liminal realms as, I guess?
So I specifically work with the merfolk and the fae. That's something that has come through working with Morgan Le Fay. I work with Thoth, which is a whole other, I was going to call him a kettlefish, but I don't think that would go down well, but you get the picture. That's a whole collective of things. I believe that the liminal realms are all of the things in between that we have been told are myth, that we have been told are fantasy, that, to give you a visual, I kind of think of, as much as we call them the higher realms, I kind of look at them as going left to right. So they are the things they are the gateways in between what we know as 3D or 4D, as much as I don't like using those terms. So that can be anything from star seeds to cosmic gateways to stellar gateways to crystal gateways that we have within the earth that take us to other realms. And it would be foolish of me to pretend that I know them all and work with them all, because I don't. Every time somebody comes forward, they're working with something slightly different. And I may have seen a glimmer of it, but it's not for me. So we'll be talking about as many as possible, as many we can fit in of those realms. Some of them are going to call to people because they are in their energetic blueprint, and some of them are just not going to be something that you want to play with.
Yeah.
However, there are realms that are available to all of us to teach us things, to allow us to learn from past mistakes, humanity's mistakes, and to create the new, which is what I love about it, because we get to play in the idea of all possibility. It's an area of limitlessness. That's about as well as I can explain it. It's a really individual process. And because Project Earthwork is going to bring in so many different types of people and so many different types of interests, and some have come through Yolandi and some will come through Karen, not everybody's going to work in the realms I work in. So we've had to make sure that the day is something that is relational and relatable on some level, so that you can take those anchor points and you can run with them.
So now, Karen, you tell us what you're doing and explain it in as much detail as Charlie did, because that was beautiful. Thank you, Charlie. I love it.
I don't know, I said.
So for me, I am always here to work. I don't work with the earth so much as in the earth, I think, is what I am learning and growing with more and more. And that is where we'll be starting, I guess, in my side of things, is we will be looking at the dark. But I don't mean with that a dark that is heavy, a dark that is sad, a dark that is scary. I mean a dark that is rich, a dark that is the place where we grow things, a dark that is that sensation you get when you put your hands into deep, deep, wet earth and you're like, oh, and it feels really, really almost a little bit sexy and really nourishing. And that is the darkness. That is the sense of, I work deeply with a group of beings called the Primal Mothers. And what they tell us is that ultimately our species came from this planet. We are like Lilith, the ones who came from the earth. And so I want us to come back to a remembrance of the fact that we are mud and dirt. We are seeds and roots. We are stems and trunks, and we are branches. I want us to come back to that remembrance of the fact that we are earth, and that earth is both the greatest library that we have, the greatest oracle that we have, And that's why we are supported by her in every single moment. I want us to come back to that. And in a sense, you know, when we step through all of these Grail gates, wherever we are going, whenever we are going, wherever they are taking us and however they are taking us, every single one of those steps, what I know categorically, unless your name is Katy Perry, is that every single one of those steps will be on the earth, will be held by the earth, unless it's held by billionaires, but we'll not go down that route. It will be held by the earth, and we will be stepping on the soil, and we'll be working with the soil. And I cannot wait to actually sit in the energy of that and dance with it in the way that we're going to over those 2 days. As Charlie says, out on the land, that is a whole other thing that I'm not going to talk about right in this second. I'll come back to that. But the fact that we get to weave in the liminal, the sort of more dense that is the earth, the in between that is the middle and that is the body, the fact that we get to weave all of this together in this kind of never ending cycle of power, cycle of wisdom, cycle of magic, that is actually what we are all working with every single day. These are, to me, the tools that we are given. These are the gifts that we are given. This is the magic that we are given. And we get to reactivate all of this inside of our own bodies and inside of every moment of our own lives. And so I'm really excited to bring in that mud that can grow everything from it, that mud that we might actually want to go and roll around in and put all of our faces and all of our hands and all the things. Unfortunately, we can't physically do that in the workshop room, but you never know. On the Sunday when we're out on the land, it might just happen. And I'm really excited to take it out on the land as well, because I think, you know, the fact that we have this period of time in Chalice-Well Garden, every time I have ever done ritual in Chalice-Well Garden before has been quite delicate in a sense. It has been about this feminine energy that is quite pretty and is quite, you know, bird song and all the things. And I love that. There's such a beauty to it and there's such a power to it. But even she is always held by the earth. And I'm really excited about the fact that we get to go into Chalice-Well Garden, have it all to ourselves, and just actually call on the fullness of the goddess in all of her energy, the fullness also of the god in all of his energy, and call it all in and just see how that merges within us in that kind of most, in a sense, if you were to ask somebody what is a Grail gateway, picture one, they'd probably picture Chalice-Well at Glastonbury, because it's the one that ticks all of those boxes in our brains. In that place, we get to go in there and we get to dance with all these energies, and I'm so excited to see what unfolds, and I'm so excited to see what we activate within ourselves and within one another. So yeah, that's my summary, I guess.
I love it. Okay, so then for me, so like I'm fascinated by all of the different networks and parts that make up this planet. Like there's so many different parts. There's this whole history of her creation, of her movement, of what she's done and how she's birthed everything. And there's so much for us to learn about this process that Mother Gaia went through, and then also the parts of her that is reflected within us. And so if we start looking at the water, at the trees, at the mycelial networks, there's so many networks, and we are one of the networks as well. And how does all of this fit into our daily lives? How do we work with our bodies? How do we actually utilize this physical vessel to connect to upper and lower and middle, right? Like, so for me, these are really important questions that we don't ponder enough. And, you know, in my slot, I'm really going to focus on, well, what is happening inside of you, and how does that relate to these different realms that we are playing in, and how does that help us then to take this and embody it and live it out in the world? Because it's great to be able to play in all of these beautiful places, but how do I actually take that and make it part of the walk that I walk and the talk that I talk and the way that I live? And for me, you know, earthwork is embodiment work, and embodiment is such a fucking overused word, but like, how do I take these energies and make it part of my life and actually live by this code that we've been given by, you know, our planet? So that's really the stuff that I want to focus on. And I really love the teaching days, just because it's just so much fun to watch the people in the group go, oh my God. And you can see like they haven't thought about this. And I remember last year, like Charlie saying things and Karen saying things, and I'm going, fuck, I never even thought of it like that. Like, you have these aha moments. And for me, that's the best part, is to watch people like click and go, yes, that's mine. I'm going to work with this. This feels right for me. So, all of us coming together with our wisdom and like giving it to the group, that feels really sacred to me, because we honor it so much. We honor our individual wisdom so much, that it really feels like such an outpouring of love and of like, our individuality into a room, and to see people respond and really get something from it. That's my favorite part. And of course, I freaking love working on the land, because that's just always fantastic. But for me, it's really the moment when I see people get it, when they can feel it, when I'm like, yes, I can see you're going to do something with this and it's going to change your life. And that really makes me happy. So yeah, so that's what I'm going to be looking at.
I love it.
Shall we talk about our favorite things from last year? Because I think we had expectations.
Yes.
We had a loose framework, but also we had only worked online and at one very small kind of 2-hour event before this. So I think when we came back, we had moments that we'd not only kind of gone, aha, I get that now, or because every day is a learning day, right? But we also had those moments that were unexpected, or maybe were a key piece that we kind of, I don't want to sound too cheesy, but like locked away in our hearts and went, yeah, that's the moment I'm taking like home with me, in a sense. Because Glastonbury has that conflict. It can feel, as I always say, like an assault on the senses for some people. And some people love it and some people hate it. So I think it might be interesting for us to talk about like those moments that we took away from last year, for anybody that may be kind of on the fence. I can go first.
Yeah.
Yes.
There was a beat then and I was like, so I do love the Saturday, and I do love teaching, and I do love seeing the realization in people's faces that they are not the only one. Because a lot of this work is solo, right? And a lot of it is hyper glossy. Like if you're not wearing full on linen and you're not in Egypt twice a year or in a jungle in Peru, you're not spiritual. And actually, there are so many people out on the land day to day, just doing it in their everyday, in their back garden and so on. So I love that moment when everybody comes together and the nervousness has kind of drifted away, where people look around and they kind of go, holy shit, there are other people doing this across the country or across the world. That's one of my favorite moments. I also love the moment when we went to the tour. It was raining. We were all absolutely, for want of a better saying, very British saying, we were absolutely piss wrapped.
Very Southern British saying. I'd never heard it until you said it.
I've never heard that either. I'm just like, really? I thought you were going to go soaked. And I'm like, yeah.
Piss wrapped.
Bristolian then.
Yeah, Bristolian saying.
Spread it far and wide. And I mean, not even a little bit. It was like through raincoats, through trousers, everything, socks. I think I ran out my socks when we got back in the sink. I think there was a defiance that I kind of love in that, where a lot of people would have gone, okay, we're going to stay indoors and we're going to switch things up, and this is how we're going to do it today. And we didn't, which I love. I loved the ceremony of it. But I also loved this idea that we're going to keep coming back to, is how differently we work, and how it doesn't take a lot to spark something in somebody where they go, oh my God, I'm going to run with that. Or you give them another way to anchor into something they've been working with that they haven't seen. And it's one sentence in a conversation on our way somewhere. I think I underestimate how much I work with one foot in one world and one foot in the other all the time. And that's a choice and something that I had from birth. But to see it illuminated in other people and the possibility, and also to be vulnerable enough to say, I don't have the answer to that, because we're all fumbling along and picking up these bits as we go. So I don't think I have a single takeaway. I just have loads of little ones that I've just pushed in. So yeah, I didn't think we would get to go back. So I think this year will be even more mischief, full of mischief and trouble and all the magical things. I'll need to make some more room in my heart. And hopefully I won't get piss wrapped.
Karen, what was yours?
I think I'm really glad you did just have one, because I certainly don't just have one. My first favorite moment about last year's Glastonbury, and I'm with you, Charlie. When we did last year's workshop, I didn't think we would get to do it again. It kind of started off as a bit of a crazy idea, and we did it, and we thought, if this is the only time we do it, cool. And then we loved it so much, and we got such positive feedback that we were like, holy shit, we have to do this again. And we're just going to keep doing it. You know, as Charlie says, we'd done one tiny little event previously. And very, very, not that long before at all, it suddenly became really evident that actually we need to do this, because not only do we love it, and we do, but people genuinely benefited and genuinely enjoyed it. And we're still hearing, feedback from some of the wonderful people who were with us last year, saying things that they took away and things that are still activating in them now. But I think my first favorite bit, and I have three, so bear with me. My first favorite bit happened when everybody was gathering on the Saturday morning. And our room at that point was kind of upstairs above a courtyard. And as one of the ladies came in, people were getting a little bit lost. We were having to kind of direct people because it was a bit hard to find. I think this one's easier, just so you know, and we'll certainly have better directions this year. But one of the wonderful ladies who came last year, who is joining us again this year, came upstairs and said, I know exactly where to go. I just followed the cackle. And that moment for me, I was like, and that's what this is, because what we want to remind every single person of, the people who are with us and the people who are far and wide around the world, is that this work, as sacred as it is, as reverential as it is, doesn't have to be dull. And it doesn't have to be quiet. And what Charlie said before about the defiance, like, we get to be defiant, we get to cackle, we get to giggle, we get to cry, we get all of the things. We get to redefine sacred, because the earth has shown us a different sacred every day. And there was something so powerful about that moment. If I just followed the cackle, that made me want to have Project Earthwork t-shirts made that just say, follow the cackle. That's it. So that's number one. Number two for me was also when we were on the tour, and the whole experience. It's hard to kind of sum up which bit is my favorite. I loved every bit of it, but I think my favorite bit of that was when we were at the top of the tour, and we'd start doing this meditation, and I had my eyes closed, and I suddenly opened my eyes, and from the small group of us who had gathered, all of a sudden the tower at the top of the tour was just full of people. And they were all just taking part. And I was like, how did this happen? We've somehow just, like some sort of spiritual Pied Piper, we've led them all into an activation. What is going on? And I remember turning to Charlie, who was next to me, and saying, you need to sing. You have to sing. And Charlie started singing. And for anybody who's ever heard Charlie sing, you will know that was a beautiful experience in itself, hearing Charlie sing in this beautiful space. Don't swipe it away, it is. But what was even better about it, was that suddenly all of these people just joined in. We had not only people standing to the point where the tower was full, it was absolutely paying it down with rain, and people are standing outside joining in the song, stamping their feet to the beat, clapping their hands, swaying their hips. And it just felt, I've had my own activations. I have been involved in group activations. I have never done anything like that moment, where we just looked around and were like, shit, we are activating. What is even happening here? What is going on? It was just sheer power. And I loved that bit. And the third bit, promise this is my last one, was quite a personal one, but also not. As we were closing the weekend for everybody, I'd been doing a channeling. I'd been closing the space, I'd been doing a channeling. And as I started channeling, all of a sudden outside of the window, the part of my brain that was still online just heard boom, boom, boom. And I was like, my brain went, what on earth? Other voices just channeling. I'm just going with it. And all the time I was channeling, I could hear this drum beat. And I was like, what's even happening? And almost as soon as I stopped channeling, boom, and it stopped. And at the time, there was a moment while I was channeling, I remember something in my brain going, well, you should stop. This is obviously going to distract people. Stop. And then the voice that I was channeling was like, no, you don't. You don't. You keep going. Now, we later found out that there was a marching band parade going down Glastonbury High Street at exactly that moment. Who even? But in the aftermath of it, at the time, it felt like two things. At the time, it felt like actually there was a potency to this message that wanted to be heard. That it was literally having a marching band accompaniment. That was how much this message wanted to be heard. But stepping back from it and coming home afterwards, I was really struck by the fact it felt like Glastonbury was just, that wasn't about what was coming out of my voice. It was about the work that we were all there to do. We talk about Glastonbury as the heart chakra of the earth. That was the moment the heart chakra of the earth was literally beating for the work that we were doing. It was showing us its pulse. It was giving us its pulse so loudly and so powerfully that we just had to go with it. And it felt like a welcome. And in that moment, it also felt like a welcome back. So I'm really excited to go back and see what that welcome back looks like. And also what wild and wonderfulness happens this time, because who on earth gets a marching band while they're doing some sort of workshop like we were doing? We'll see what happens this year, guys.
We're expecting a marching band this year.
Who knows?
Or the equivalent. Thank you.
Thanks, universe. Well, okay, I've got nothing left to say now because those were all like some of my favorite moments. I think one thing that really stood out for me, and because I mean, for me, it's like working on the land with groups of people. I just, before we did that, I just done like the big tour in May and all that type of stuff. And watching Karen and Charlie working on the land in their way really fucking blew my mind, because I'm so used to how I do it. So I never get to see anyone else do it, except when I'm with my friends doing things, right? But then to see you guys in the presence of a group and leading a group and stuff, I was just like, my fuck, this is insane. Like, it was just so good, because I'm like, these are my powerful co-creators of this project, and it is so beautiful to see two other women stepping into this deep connection with Mother Gaia and sharing that, and like how people are responding. And I was just like, when you stand there and you're just like, this is insane. I absolutely loved it. So for me to really get a sense of us as a team, but in our individual spaces, like this little holy triangle that we've created, I was just like, oh. So that was like, probably my best. So yeah.
Isn't it funny? Because Charlie published a beautiful blog post recently about almost the story of Project Earthwork and her experience of it. It's on our Substack. If you haven't read it yet, go and check it out, because it's beautiful. When we when Project Earthwork returned to being the three of us, we talked about triangles a lot, and we made our logo for Project Earthwork triangles. Spoiler alert, guys, they actually look a little bit like gateways, but that's by the way. We had this triangle, and it was almost like last September when we gathered together, the triangle went from just being a really straight line of a triangle to being a portal of possibility, but B, like a woven triangle. Like all of a sudden, these three threads came around each line of that triangle. So it wasn't just, this is one of us, this is the other one, and this is the third one. It was, here is my side that is forever, now woven with those threads of the wisdom that Charlie and Yolandi share with me, of the impact that they have on my life, of the work that they do in their own way when we come together in this way. Here is Charlie's, here is Yolandi's. They're no longer just dunk, dunk, dunk. They're all of a sudden like woven together. And I think that when, my last book was all about how we are never just a sum of our parts, because when we bring those parts together, we suddenly become something more. And I think that was it, wasn't it? Last September, Project Earthwork suddenly became that something more. And it's that people get to dive into when they come for our weekend together.
Yes, it's beautiful. And I think it is just what's the word I'm looking for? The honor of being able to work with the earth, right? Like I feel so blessed that we are three people that are that deeply connected and so in love with our own planet that we get to share that. And you know, the essence of the project is for that to wake up in other people. That's what we want. We want you to wake up to that deep love for the place that we all get to call home. So that for me feels really important.
I think as well, like something more is almost the unofficial tagline, because it doesn't really matter where you are with working with the land when you come to an event or tune into a YouTube or read a blog or come for an activation. It's just that you know there is something more. Like there has to be something more than getting up, going to work, come to bed, going back to bed. Like you are there, you are looking for something more. And I think that has kind of been woven into everything we have done, because we know there's something more. We don't live in the glossy. We don't kind of like just make it all love and light and all that bullshit. We live it, and we live that something more. And that's not from a higher than place. That's from a point now where we want to share that in a place of honoring, like Yolandi said, because we honor how differently that looks to each of us, and we honor how differently that looks to everybody that shows up. So we don't have many tickets left. I think we have like a handful left. And we have a bigger room this time. So that kind of blows my mind. Next year we'll have to do like a pre-order. So if we're doing it next year, putting it out there. So if you are on the fence, and that is totally fine, I think one of the things to be asking is, are you looking for something more? Because that is what these gates are about, is creating something more, activating something more within yourself, building a stronger connection, exploring the darkness of that. That is also so very light and not heavy. And exploring the tangible and the gateways and the grid lines that are beyond just your average sacred site, and playing in those mythical realms that we have been told are just stories. So that would be my kind of unofficial tagline. If you're looking for something more, and we have found things in it that we weren't expecting to find, we're sitting there massively. We're sitting there listening to other people speak back to us and share things with us and going, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
Because every day is a learning day. So come gather. And if it doesn't appeal to you, come next year or swipe on by. So thank you very much.
Isn't it interesting? I've got a blog post ready to go also for our Substack. Check it out, projectearthwork.substack.com. If I've got a blog post ready to go about how Glastonbury has always, every single time I've been, has always, now I'm of the opinion, as we all are, that you know every site is sacred because the land itself is sacred, right? There are sites that feel more sacred, that we are told more sacred, are more sacred, and yet actually there is a sacredness in every inch of land and every inch of sea and all of the in-betweens. But for Glastonbury, it has always met me where I am and then taken me a little bit further every single time I've ever been. So I think that something more is almost could be the tagline of Glastonbury, and perhaps that's why she met us with a marching band last year, because she was like, oh, you're taking them, you're gonna guide them on the something more that I'm just gonna kick their asses into whether they like it or not. So we're almost I think that we're working with Glastonbury in that sense, and I really love it, because let me be clear, Glastonbury will lead you onto something more, and that's a really beautiful thing. It can be tough at times, but it can be really beautiful. But what we're here to do is to almost support that journey as we're there for that weekend, so that it's not quite just finding yourself on the other side of a door. We will be standing on either side of each of those gateways that we activate within you and around you, being like, whoa, let's do this. and watching the way that you step through the door and learning stuff as we do and celebrate and all of those things. There's just a richness to that something more that almost in for the purpose of now, you know, I always remember years ago reading a thing about how in Sex and the City, New York City was the fifth character. Us, the earth is the fourth character. The earth is the fourth teacher, and we are going right to her heart and asking her to help us.
Yeah.
And I think there's something really beautiful in that, isn't there?
Yes. Oh, I love that. Okay. So get on like the link and get the last few tickets and then like be done with it, because the whole point of this is that it's going to be freaking epic, and like you want to be with us and all the amazing people that's coming as well, the whole lot of them, because it's going to be a room full of really beautiful souls. And that's also really the thing, is like you get to meet new people, and you get to meet people who feel about the earth like you do. And that's such a precious gift, to find people who are, you know, in that space, who care enough about this planet just like we do. So just come and have fun with us, because it is a kick-ass weekend. It is the best thing ever. You will not regret it, I promise you. It's amazing. So yeah.
And if it is feeling a little bit like right now, oh, but I don't know if I can manage that money right now. Just remember, we got payment plans. We have got payment plans as we are recording this. We've got a few more days left of the cost broken down into 3. And then as we head into sort of the last week and a bit of April, we'll be moving down to the cost being broken down into 2. But still, we have payment plans. You don't have to pay it all at once. You can gather with us on a term that feels good to you.
Definitely. Awesome. Okay, so anything else you guys want to add before we say goodbye today?
I have said enough for today. For now.
Karen?
No, I'm good, thank you. I think I need a drink. I've talked so much.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so yeah, so if you enjoyed it and you are feeling the call, click on the link. Everything is here. It's on our websites as well. It's on all our socials. It's on all of our our pages, personal pages, everywhere. We'd love for you to join us. And like Charlie said, there's literally a handful of tickets left. So we'd love that to go to you. Okay, so thank you so much for joining us today and sending lots of love. And we will see you at Beltane, where we'll be dropping a beautiful video for you guys to celebrate. Okay, keep well, bye.